Hi, I'm Vicky, welcome round. This is my home studio here in Manchester. Looking out the window, it's really sunny. It feels like every day is sunny on repeat at the moment. And I'm really trying to embrace this sort of change of tempo that we're living in at the moment. I'm a sound artist. I work with sound sculpture, different electronic media and kind of DIY electronics. That DIY approach is really integral to all of the work that I make, whether that's installation work or sort of live performance. Today I'm going to show you some of the techniques that I use to make music and talk you through what I've been doing during lockdown.
Molten globules like raindrops. Shoot skyward with blazing brilliance.
I'm going to show you some of the techniques I use for generating sounds. I like to work with noise and the sounds of transmission and signals. So I work a lot with radios and also self-built synths. So I'm going to show you some of the tech here. So this one is one of our noise machines. So me and my friend Dave Birchall have a project called Noise Orchestra, and that's a DIY electronics project. We have a studio at Rogue in Manchester. It's a sound art project. We do installations exploring graphical sound, electromagnetism, and one of the things we do is we build our own synthesizers. The Noise Orchestra is a pretty small orchestra of two, but we like to think the machines and the participants make up the wider orchestra. This noise machine here is a light to noise synthesizer. It's called Cactus because it's spiky and sounds pretty like grungy and dirty. It's got 6 oscillators. It's got these light sensors here as well and a touch interface. You can hook this up to different effects or use it within your own setup however you wish to use it. So I'm going to use some of this to create some noises. This is one of our portable noise machines, so we also do sound walks at festivals. And this one here, we give this out to citizens and they play the light of their city with this sort of moving drone orchestra across urban space. The DIY aspect to Noise Orchestra is really important. So everything we do is about other people and participants and sharing that knowledge of electronics. So we run workshops. All the things we make are open source. We try and learn from others and share skills as much as possible. So other things over here is I like to work with the sound of radio as well. So I've got this really old radio that I picked up like a market in St. Petersburg, and I work with contact mics a lot. I like to explore the hidden properties of materials and sounds. So I'm going to use this contact microphone, also this little LOM mic here to record the acoustic sound of the old technology. And finally, this is the Coma Field Kit. So whenever I go away, I always record the sounds of kind of the radio and these frequencies. And then I use these rhythmic aspects within the music that I make as well.
Note. Will be on. And the this
So now I'm going to take the radio sample, tidy it up a little bit, get some of that noise out using RX, and then import it back into Ableton and sort of play around with some of those noise textures and those mechanical sounds. This is the original recording. And this is after editing. So a couple of years ago I did a research project called Materiality, and I wanted to explore how physical and digital sonic materials could sort of work together in a live performance setting, and I wanted to bring these kind of two worlds together of sound art and sound sculpture and DIY interfaces with kind of more traditional live electronic music forms like drum machines and samplers. As part of that, I worked at the London Sculpture Studios and I learned how to weld and build these metal sound sculptures, and I used them to perform with live, and also recorded the sounds of the materials and the properties as well, and used those as kind of industrial music concrete samples to build my own machines and music with. So during lockdown I've been working on material towards my first release, and I'm going to show you some of the DIY technology that I use. So first up, this is my graphene interface here, and this was made as part of the Materiality project. I was interested in graphene as the sort of future wonder material, the super material. It was discovered here in Manchester a few years ago, so I worked with scientists and researchers at the National Graphene Institute, and I wanted to work with it in a kind of musical or more poetic way rather than this sort of constant race to industry perspective, this capitalist perspective. So I built this interface. As you can see on here, there's 6 modules, and each of them has got graphene inside, and each of those modules acts as a capacitive touch controller. So what that means is that the material is conductive and it's looking out for a variance in voltage. So each module has a wire that's going straight to a little Arduino here, and then the Arduino is hooked up directly into Ableton Live. So what that means is I can use it as a MIDI controller, so to play it in kind of a gestural way when I'm performing live. So each of these little units I can hook up to an effect or a synth or an oscillator, control these in a live show. So I'm going to do a short demo using Portal just to show you kind of how you can manipulate these parameters. So before lockdown, I'd been abroad doing a couple of gigs, been with Brighter Sound over in Barcelona performing at Mutec Festival, which was an amazing experience for me. But I feel that as a performer, I've kind of lost that momentum a little bit. So I've tried to think how I can embrace and change with this sort of change of tempo and think about how I make work. The week before lockdown happened, I just returned from a trip to Russia where I was researching machine learning and music. This was part of the British Council's UK-Russia Year of Music, where I collaborated with an artist called Ilya Simfakat. So we did a gig at the Museum of Nonconformist Art. So I met up with musicians and technologists in St. Petersburg Prague and Moscow who are sort of researching this collaborative area of machines and music. And I find this really fascinating and something that I want to bring into my own artwork. This sort of thinking around machines and interfaces, our relationship with technology, and then the impact of the lockdown has really influenced this new project that I'm working on, which is a browser-based piece of art called Sleep States. So the idea behind Sleep States was to explore some of these feelings I was experiencing during lockdown, these sort of cyclical emotions of anxiety, inertia, and this kind of sense of being in limbo, this in-between state. I didn't know what day it was, what time it was, spending lots of time on the internet, and this kind of feeling of online perpetuity and sort of reaching out via the network. So yeah, I'll show you some of the stills now from it. Also, because I've been doing a lot of online courses in sort of creative coding and AI, it was just a method to sort of have something to do, but also sort of reflect on this time. And what you're seeing here is basically a mechanical moon. I created a data set of found imagery of uploaded pictures of the pink moon that happened in April. This is kind of like a computer vision version of the machine moon. And the idea is that the user will then navigate to these different sleep states and experience these different emotions. So yeah, it started out trying to just capture these emotions through these sort of audiovisual moments, but it's kind of become a bit more sinister where there'll be a reveal at the end where the user finds out that their data's been extracted whilst kind of navigating the different sleep states by this sort of speculative AI company who are sort of harvesting your and the sounds of your dreams for nefarious purposes. So yeah, it's a work in progress. I'll keep it updated online.
Molten globules like raindrops. Shoot skyward with blazing brilliance.
For me, it's a really reflective time, a time to slow down. I think a lot of the time as artists, we're sometimes racing to work to deadlines or commissions. And actually, because we've lost these time parameters, I'm trying to see that as a positive actually, and just sort of play and experiment with no objective in mind.
Lucid dreamers also report frightening accounts where they have trouble distinguishing reality from the dream.